Go ahead and start here. Take a screwdriver, undo the first screw on the clamp there. Just undo it a little bit. If you want, go ahead and at this time you can go ahead and remove that. That's your little air sensor there. There's a little red clip on top. Just kind of slide that back there. That'll loosen that up and just kind of pull that out. And then that'll be free, and just set that off to the side. Get ready for your next step. Let's grab the screwdriver again. We'll go ahead and get these other screws on the other side of the air box. There's two on each side down there. Just go ahead and unscrew those so we can get that particular part of the air box freed up. So we'll go ahead and unscrew those there. That's, just using your screwdriver. Set that off to the side. That's a 10mm socket. You want to use that. That'll undo the bolt there in front of the air box. That's 10mm. Mine was finger tight. You may need a wrench to break that free. Just save that bolt to the side for safekeeping. You'll want to use that later in the installation. And that's just a close-up of that screw there. You're also going to want to disconnect that breather tube there from your factory air box. There's a new one supplied in the kit. And you'll see that. That's close-up of that 10mm bolt removed. That screw we loosened, and again, that first screw we loosened there by the throttle body, and that clip that we took out. Just wanted to give you a closer look. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and pull that little rubber boot back from the air box. Once you've undone the clamp with the screw, that'll just kind of slide off. And we'll go ahead and also just kind of slide it off there at the throttle body. Maybe easier or harder for you guys, and it's just the clamps there. See, if you see that little sensor, we want to keep that for our new piece. So let's go ahead and remove this crankcase breather tube there from the factory. I just kind of twisted it up out of my way. You'll actually remove that for the final installation, and that black air box will just pull up. Just pull up and set it off to the side. You no longer need that. Just lifts out, set it off to the side. Then you want to go ahead and grab that rubber boot. If you want, this is a great time. Go ahead and grab that sensor. That sensor is actually going to come out of that rubber boot from the throttle body and go into the hole as shown on the new one there. You'll see that here in the next couple segments. We went ahead and got the new sensor installed in that elbow. That'll go on for the new part of the Mopar cold air intake, and that's where that clip will plug in, so you see it there. We're going to get this heat shield ready. This is kind of the bracket that's going to hold the intake and everything in place there. We'll go ahead and get the hardware. It's got a couple of washers, some bolts, and this is all in the instructions. Great instructions from Mopar. It's a little strut there piece and a little plastic clip there. We'll set all those pieces off. That rubber bushing is kind of what secures the cold air to that black bracket. Black bracket's got a groove on it. That groove is designed to slide into the channel there on your coolant reservoir, as you can see there in the video. You just want to kind of work that down. There's going to be some coolant lines at the bottom where you can't see in the camera. You just want to make sure that you free and clear just lift the coolant lines a little bit up, and that black piece will just slide into place there. Once you've got it into place, that black clip you see there pushes down. There's a hole in the very bottom. That's what will keep that secured to the very bottom. There's also a rubber piece that can go around that flange there. It can go around the bottom, and you'll see that also in the instructions. I've got that nice and secure there. That, like I said, slides into the coolant. That little rubber bushing there has got a washer and a nut on each side. There's a hole in there. You'll go ahead and feed that through. Like I said, that's what's going to secure your cold air intake once the actual tube, once you've ran it through there. There's a kind of a bracket that hangs off the cold air, and that's what will mount to that little nut and bolt, that little strut piece that we're putting there in the black bracket. So we're getting that secured. We'll prepare a few more parts here. This is the actual dry media filter. Just check your rings, guys, for these clamps that go around. There's each a specific size for each particular piece. That black ring slides into the filter. You'll want to go ahead and tighten that clamp down, and that's what will allow you to attach on to. There you've got your two clamps there. You can see on your elbow. That comes off the throttle body with the sensor installed. You can go ahead and prep those, depending on how you want. That's kind of how that'll lay in there. Just kind of giving you an overview of the parts. That's where that tube piece will mount up to the rubber there. Just kind of giving you guys, a look at how these pieces are going together, as they're going together, before they go together. You can see how the cold air kit the filter would fit on the end of it there. Just, laying out all the clamps pieces, guys. The instructions for Mopar are really clean, really well. So having everything laid out there in front of you just makes things a little bit easier. The next part of the installation here, we're just adding a few of the pieces, following the instructions, and just getting ready for our next steps. And you saw we took that breather hose off. Here's a new supply breather hose that will connect over there, and it does also come with the 2 new supplied clamps. You may have to cut that to fit. I actually did. We're going to get that elbow put on here, just kind of loose fit that. Don't want to actually tighten the clamps, just kind of starting to get this unit installed, following the instructions, of course. Couple of clamps there. I've got them up. I've got the wire harness there. Go ahead and clip that in if you like. Make things a little bit easier, and don't forget to slide that little red tab back once you've clicked that in. That's what kind of helps secures that in place there. So just click it in there, push it, then slide your little red tab back. Once it's in there, the tab will slide back. You've got it in place. You can kind of move on from the next step there. We'll go ahead and take the actual Mopar branded tube there. We'll go ahead and slide that through. You can see that little bracket there. That's what slide onto that bolt. After install, you guys might want to put your filter on first. It is pretty tight over there. The instructions say to put it on last, but I kind of had to disassemble and move some things. So at this step, you might want to go ahead and insert the blue filter, then slide everything in, then connect the elbow to the throttle body. Made things a little bit easier for me, but nonetheless, I'll show you here kind of as we're doing it. You get that straight there. Like I said, don't set any screws. You can go ahead and take your washer and bolt there and just kind of loosely finger tighten that. There's a post on each side, one side for the black heat shield, the other side for the actual cold air intake, the tube itself. So just go ahead and just, finger tighten those for now. You'll have those set where you need. We're going to go ahead and just kind of adjust everything, make sure it's tight, square, exactly how it needs to be. I've got those. We're going to go back to the screwdriver, and I'm actually going to go ahead and tighten this up just a little bit on the tube. I want to keep that secure in place. For the filter, that's following the instructions. Like I said, guys, you may want to advance a step and apply the blue media filter. It might make things easier. So let me pan over here. We can show you, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten the other screw at the throttle body. Following these steps, you might notice a little struggle getting that filter on. That's why I'm telling you to advance at this step. This kind of voice over the video, telling you maybe install that blue media filter now before you get that actually secured. But nonetheless, if you want to follow the instructions as Mopar, that's how the video was shot, and that's how I'm putting it out there, because in my opinion, that's the best tutorial, following the instructions that were already provided for us. So go ahead and tighten that down there, and we'll tighten this other one down. Make sure they're nice and snug there, and we can kind of move on to our next step. Alright, for the next step here, like I said, we got the tube installed there. You can still see we got the factory rubber boot from the oil crankcase breather. We're going to go ahead and remove that. Hold that to the side if you ever want to go back to factory. We're actually going to go ahead and install. You can see here the tube as it's shipped is a little bit longer. There was a factory bend in there. If you can see, you're obviously going to end up with a little slack. Now, depending on how yours cut, yours might be cut to fit. This one was actually cut way too long. That type of curve in there is not going to be good for there, so you want to make sure you snip that. Obviously, measured 4 times, cut once, guys. It's a black tubing. You can always cut a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and pull that off for now. Just kind of wanted to show you in that step what we're going to do, but you may need to adjust that. And there's just a couple of clamps that will screw down. You'll screw one down there and one on the other end up near where you fill the oil, and the other end on the Mopar. So the factory one obviously won't work, so discard it. That's why I said you guys might want to take the media filter on now at that next step, and I'll show you why. You can kind of witness here my struggle. I'm putting the next rubber piece on. That provides the 2 clamps that allow us to actually clamp the cone, the dry media filter, to the tube itself, the Mopar tube. The clamps there, they're kind of tricky because you got the hole in the heat shield, so you're going to have to adjust those as such. Like I said, taking that off the throttle body right now during this phase, what you're watching is going to be easier. So if you've went ahead and screwed that down following Mopar instructions, let's go ahead and make an amendment to those instructions now, and let's slide that off the throttle body. You can see here during the struggle, getting the filter on, it's very tight in there. The filter on the end kind of got crushed slightly. You'll be able to see that in the weaving on the filter. For the sake of the video, I went ahead and kept that filter. I've actually got a different one, and following my instructions of putting it on first so that I don't have a damaged filter. If you crimp it or pinch it just a little when you guys install it, I did that on my charger. Over time, it'll kind of pop back out. It's paper, it's a filter, so it's going to come back out. If you're OCD and anal like I am, it cost me a few dollars to order a new one because I kind of rammed it in. But like I said, it's a very tight fit there, guys. The heat shield being in place was not the problem. Having that tube already fed into the rubber elbow that's connected to the throttle body to give you some more room. So when I start to grab this filter and go to begin to apply, you can see how tight it is. So that's why I said the need for maybe removing the rubber piece at the throttle body, adjusting that tube back so that you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that clamp now on the media filter. And that was that little black ring that we installed in the filter because that's what attaches to the silver tube via the rubber boot. You'll clamp that around. So I'm just tightening that clamp down right now on the filter because that's a permanent piece. I won't need to undo that again. So we'll go ahead and get that tight. Like I said, guys, you may want to take that step and go ahead and pop that tube out right now before you try to put this filter in. Mopar suggests putting it in the end, and it's such a tight fit that you may crush the filter. I've seen a lot in the forums. I've seen other people do it. I've seen other cars where the end of the filter just slightly smashed in. Doesn't look bad, probably functionally would not harm the vehicle, would not affect its performance. You can see right there how tight it is, guys. That's what I'm saying. You might want to amend your Mopar instructions now and go a different way. I try to go in at an angle there. I try to go in at the side. It's just too tight. I end up lifting. What I did is actually slide the heat shield out to give me some more room, but the heat shield could have stayed if I would have just adjusted the tube. So that's up to you guys. You can kind of finagle it like I am by adjusting the heat shield and the tube to get the filter down in there, or you can back that rubber off of the throttle body, that rubber spacer, that elbow joint. You can back that off the throttle body, unscrew your clamps real quick to give you some kind of more room to work with. Kind of see there, I'm kind of jammed up a little bit with the heat shield, the filter, and that, I believe that's the power steering fluid reservoir there. It might be brake fluid, I believe it's power steering, but you can see as I start to put it in there, I'm still kind of bound up, and that, according to Dodge, is how to put it in. Well, at that point, in my opinion, you're a little bit bound between the heat shield, the clamp, getting the heat shield back into the coolant. So you may want to go ahead and disconnect. Like I said, guys, at the throttle body, you can witness the struggle here. It's a little bit difficult, and like I said, I followed the instructions per Mopar. I'm still in this struggle here. So you can see right there at the end of the filter just got a little crimped. It's a little pressed, maybe 1/8 of an inch down. I pulled that back out and it looked fine, but I did go ahead and replace it just for the sake of how it looked. It still looked fine, and most people probably would have just said, great, it's in, it's installed, it's perfect, and that slight little bend's not going to do anything. But you can see here, I think installing the filter, then the tube, then mounting up the throttle body would actually make this process a lot easier. Will reiterate that here I'm just simply following the instructions in order from Mopar. So the concern through flexing that there and wedging it, the tube itself's come undone from the throttle body. You can see, or pardon me, from the elbow joint on the right side. Now once that's free, the filter just fell in and then reattach that right there into the elbow. So depending on how you want to do it, like I said, probably the easiest way, take it off and start at a different step like I showed you. Hopefully you omit your struggles a little bit more than I did. We're going to go ahead and go back to the screwdriver, and we'll go ahead and tighten all those clamps now. We've got everything installed, so now is a good time to go ahead and get everything nice and secure, nice and snug. So we're going to secure the two that are off the clamp there, and those are the clamps that actually hold the tube to the cone air filter, dry filter, whatever you want to call it, folks. We got those tight. Make sure that that black heat shield's nice and sunk down in there. We're going to come back over here, and on the other side of the elbow, we'll go ahead and tighten down that clamp. Just using a standard screwdriver here, nothing special, guys. The only thing special is just 10mm socket and the Phillips screwdriver that we use. So we've got, you know, those first three clamps screwed down. So go ahead and pan over here and go ahead and just make sure that's nice and snug there. We'll go ahead and snug this back one that's off the throttle body. Make sure you guys have reconnected your sensor as such. You can see with the red clip slid back down. So you pan over here, we can kind of see there's this rubber piece, and that's actually going to fit over the heat shield. It kind of gives it seals it off a little bit more with the hood, and that just has a gap in it. You guys just want to slide that and work that over. Your piece may be longer to fit. Leave it on if you want be, or trim if necessary. Take that screw, if you guys remember that bolt we took out using a 10mm socket. You can go ahead and finger tighten that back in. I didn't actually use a socket, I just finger tight it back in. If the heat shield pops up on you, just kind of hold the heat shield down as you do it. That way you're not, you know, flexing your screw. Easier way, if you want, pull that rubber boot up there and get it nice and snug, and then just put your rubber piece, the grommet, back on there, and that kind of just acts as a cover over that heat shield. And once you've got that in there, you're kind of ready for the next step, which is you're getting close, guys. Like I said, you may have to cut this rubber. I used a nice pair of cable scissors, Klein cable scissors, cut right through that rubber. Snips will work. You just want to feed that crankcase tube that was supplied in the kit back on there. Connect to the crankcase, connected to the cold air itself. There's two clamps that came with that. They slide over there. You want to just tighten those up at the top side there near the oil, and at the bottom side. Just check your fit. Make sure your hose is not turned, twisted, bent, curved. Just make sure it's a nice straight piece. Like I said, you may have to trim to fit. I actually cut almost 3/4 of an inch off of mine. So just go ahead and get those tightened down. Both clamps there. You got one up top there by the oil where you would fill that there at the crankcase, and then you've got the other one which is near the silver tube. And you can see, just be careful, guys. I dropped my screwdriver there, but it was just right there. It wasn't out of reach, so go ahead and finish tightening that one down. It was about 90 degrees when I shot this video and did the install. At this point, I'll tell you, I'm soaked in sweat. Decided I would do the voiceover so I could give a lot better clarity and a lot clearer instructions inside. I really take my pride into these videos and my installation and my work, you know, and hope that this can show, you know, other people. So I'm just checking, make sure everything's tightened down. You know, all the clamps are tight. I got everything spaced evenly. Just kind of doing, you know, final tightening, final inspection, just adjusting what I think I need, you know, OCD, making sure all the rubber's fitting where it needs to be. The clamps are adjusted, making sure everything's, you know, just nice and snug, because we're, you know, nearing this is pretty much, you know, the final installation. You got the last pieces on, and we're just tightening everything, checking fit, making sure everything's good. And if you follow the instructions, you may want to take the amended step like we talked about for the filter, but this is going to be your final product. What that Mopar cold air intake kit for the 6 1-liter Hemi is going to look like. This is on a 2010 Dodge Challenger SRT8. Everything is, the heat shield's in place, rubber's up top for the seal. You can see it's a very clean install. It's done. This is kind of, like I said, just your finished product left to right. Make sure your air sensor's in there, everything's tightened down, filter's in there. Real clean look, guys.